Hello, this is the Parables from This Black Life channel. I'm Chandra, and I'm going to start today's video with a question. How do you feel your parenting journey was, is, or has been? Do you have regrets? Do you think about things that you could and should and would have done differently? Do you look at your children, especially your adult children, and think to yourselves, what happened? What did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? How did they end up the way they are? And this is not shade on anybody's children. It's simply having a conversation to try to help relieve some of the emotional pressure on our hearts as parents. If you have, and if you carry guilt, as I know a lot of parents do, I want to say today's lesson from the parable is stop. Let it go. Let the guilt go. Let the regret go. Be mindful. Be objectively assessing and evaluative of your parenting. But the misplaced guilt, it's time to let it go. This is my parable regarding letting go of misplaced parental guilt. I have more than one son, and they're both young adults now. One is in 30s, one is in 20s, and I'm a single mom, have been since the oldest one was 5. And one of the things that I think a lot about nowadays is my own parenting. How does what has occurred in his life, how are the things that have seemed to have manifest in their lives, which of those things are down to me? Which of those things are down to what the experts call non-home environment, which is a very fancy kind of unnecessary way of saying outside your home. And I began to think to myself, and this really started to come to a head maybe 5 to 7 years back. And I really started to just feel so bad about myself and about the job that I had done as a single mom. And honestly, I think what happened is that one of my sons really began to struggle. He really began to have some significant issues in his life. And he was making decisions that were just, first of all, they were really unbelievable to me. Because as a parent, one of the things you think is that, what do we say often? I didn't raise them like that. And we'll even say it to our children. I didn't raise you like that, But then there they are, and they're doing and saying and behaving and making decisions that you're just shaking your head and scratching your head and thinking, what in the world? So this happened to me. This started to happen to me about 5 to 7 years ago, and I just thought, man, I really messed up. Something must have really gone wrong in what I was doing. And I just beat up on myself. I really did. And I thought, man, if I had done A, if I hadn't done B, if there wasn't C, blah, blah. Well, over time, what began to happen was I just started to really listen more, right? I started to listen more to my own internal self-talk. I started to listen more to this son that I was so just burdened by. And I really began to listen to the decisiveness in his voice and the assertiveness and aggression with which he defended his positions and all of these things. And almost all of these things were in direct opposition to what I had attempted to raise him to do. And so it occurred to me that everything that happened in his life and the decisions that he made, the choices that he decided upon, were not down to me. I had done the best thing I could do, the best things I knew to do at the time that I was doing them. Yes, we all grow, we learn, we come across different strategies, and especially now with the internet, you can learn from parents that are in Malaysia, as well as you can learn from parents who are next door. But this is the lesson that I want. This is the first lesson that I want to give to us. Number one, when it comes to raising children, it's not only what you teach them or what you attempt to teach them, but it's also what they decide to learn, what they decide to internalize, what they decide to embrace as their own. And we can teach, we can influence, we can do any number of tactical things in terms of raising our children. But bottom line, even when they're younger, they're going to make their own decisions. The difference is when they're younger, we at least feel we have more authority to correct those things. And we should be correcting things. Yes. But sometimes the heart of a kid is what it is. And it doesn't mean that it's unchangeable. It simply means that our ability to affect it only goes so far. And we have to give ourselves grace. We have to release ourselves from this misplaced guilt. When we look at them, if they're incarcerated, if they've come close to being incarcerated, if they just cannot seem to get their lives together, if they keep making bad choices in terms of, romantic partners to be involved with, if they've gotten involved with substances, whether that be alcohol, drugs, whatever, or both, if they've just become people who you look at and you think, whoa, that's the only thing I can say about it right now. You just think, whoa. Let yourself off the hook. Let go of the guilt. Lesson number 2 from this parable is that there's always hope. As I said, my sons are mid-30s and just getting into 30s, but I don't give up hope that they both will begin to activate and realize their lives. If you're a Christian, pray, pray, pray. Get others to pray, okay? Because this thing is real. But there is always hope. Not in us continuing to bear the weight of their lives, because that grinds us down, but in us looking at them as whole human beings, recognizing, accepting that no one is perfect, including ourselves, and that we're going to give us all grace and a break. So moms, dads, if you are in this place or have been in this place where you're just thinking, wow, what was the point of all of that work that I did with this kid or these kids? It might be more than one. Do what you can to decide how you want to move forward with this son, with this daughter, and then let go of the guilt. I promise you, it will make a world of difference in your relationship with that son, with that daughter. It will make a world of difference in your relationship with yourself. I encourage all of us to live hopefully, but also live in a way where we understand the reality of parenting. And we understand that when and if we did the best that we knew how to do, when we knew how to do it, that is what we could do. And so I encourage parents everywhere, including Malaysia, to live differently in the light of this reality and in the light of being a lighter, less guilt-ridden parent. The guilt, moms, dads, let it go.